Wait, you told me that you knew about this like at 9:30 in the morning. Well, 911 wasn't called until like 11:58 a.m. Like, do you think that that's weird?
Just like it literally like just blew my mind. How did we know? How did I not think of that? Wait, what? And it just made me have so many other questions. Like, yeah, no, we knew like it was at the King Street. Like, it was at the 6th Man at King Street. We knew something happened at that place.
Okay, so like the people go
We
there?
knew it was something at Bai's house. We knew it was something that happened with the girls. And it might like they could have mentioned it like they could have mentioned Ethan too at the time, but.
What's up, mob crew? I'm Chris. In today's video, we're going over something strange that happened in the Idaho student homicide. And that is, how did many of the students know something had happened at the King Road residence well before the 911 call ever came in? Even the victims' families were getting notified about something bad happening, yet we don't know how it all started. So we're going to cover this and much more in today's video. Welcome back to the channel, everybody, where we cover murder, mystery to the missing. Back on November 13th, 2022, just after receiving a 911 call at 11:58 a.m. about an unconscious person, EMT and local law enforcement would rush out to a residence close to the University of Idaho in Moscow. As the first responders showed up to a small crowd of people who seemed to be in distress outside the King Road residence. As Officer Gunderson approached the front door, the mood got real eerie as one person in the crowd uttered one word: dead. As Gunderson opened the door, he could almost immediately smell the iron-filled, penny-like taste of blood fill up his nostrils. What the first responders would discover would be something straight out of a horror film. They would walk up to the second floor and would discover two bodies in the west bedroom. Xana Kernodle and her boyfriend Ethan Chapman both had been stabbed viciously, with one body on the floor and another on the bed. But the carnage wasn't over. As they cleared the rest of the second floor, they would make their way to the third floor of the home, where things got worse. As they walked into Maddie's bedroom, they discovered Maddie Mogan and Kaylee Gonsalves, both in the same bed, who were both viciously stabbed, and with Kaylee supposedly suffering the worst out of the four victims. The only consolation to this horror was a dog, Murphy, who was found in Kaylee's bedroom alive and unharmed. There would also be two surviving roommates, Bethany and Dylan. Supposedly the 911 call came from Dylan's phone, but during the call the phone was passed around and the dispatcher at the Whitcomb call center in Pullman, Washington, labeled the call as an unconscious person, as this was standard protocol when the call center is busy or the callers are hard to understand. As the first responding officers finished their initial sweep of the house, they would soon call in to their superiors as to what they had just discovered. With 4 students' lives brutally taken and not knowing if there could be more casualties, Captain Lehner would send out a vandal alert via email to the students and faculty, stating that there was a homicide and a shelter-in-place order was in effect for the campus and surrounding area. This alert would be sent out at 2:07 p.m., just 2 hours after the 911 call first came in. But this is where things get weird. Not only were many students aware that something bad had happened at the 1122 King Road residence, but many different students from University of Idaho to Washington State University had been messaging and calling friends talking about it way before the 911 call had ever came in. This is a small clip from a guy named Dave, a frat boy of University of Idaho. He was interviewed on the YouTube channel Truth and Transparency.
Wait, you told me that you knew about this like at 9:30 in the morning. Well, 911 wasn't called until like 11:58 a.m. Like, do you think that that's weird?
Like, it literally like just blew my mind. How did we know? How did I not think of that? Wait, what? And it just made me have so many other questions. Like, no, we knew like it was at the King Street. Like, it was at the 6 Man at King Street. We knew something happened at that place.
Okay, so like the people go.
We knew it was the Popeye's house. We knew it was something that happened with the girls. And it might like they could have mentioned it like they could have mentioned Ethan too at the time, but they like I mean, what happened to the girls, mainly it's the girls' house. We know the girls, I mean, our kind of channel, I guess, is more.
What's crazy is he said he knew about it before he was supposed to go to work at 9:30, which means that was hours before the 911 call ever came in. Another interesting interview was with someone known as WSU Mom. She was interviewed on the Drunk Turkey Show. She goes on to explain how she learned about it from her daughter who goes to Washington State University.
Rooms because they were scared, but they heard a lot of noise, but it's a party house, so maybe they didn't know what was happening. And I said, hold on a minute. I said, did they call 911? She goes, I don't know. I'm like, a patient. I'm trying to roll back, and this is the conversation. This is truly how the conversation went with us. Like, it's very scattered. It's very like unbelievable.
Right. No, I understand that. So, so you call her, and the initial call that you have with her, she discloses that she was told at about 10 a.m. That 4 students' lives were taken, and that the reason that she knows is because of her sister, and I'm saying sister because it's a sorority sister. Her boyfriend, who attends the University of Idaho, informed her sister, and that sister told your daughter. Is that correct? Did I gather that correctly?
That's absolutely correct. You got it 100% correct.
Even interviews with the Gonsalves family show that close friends of Kaylee had been getting the news about something bad happening to Kaylee, but they didn't know exactly what happened.
Have you talked to Kaylee? And I said, yesterday, like last night. And she said, something bad happened. She was just bawling. And I said, well, what do you mean? What do you mean? And she said, I think Kaylee's dead. And I said, well, what do you mean? And she
all of our stomachs just dropped.
She said there was somebody just called me and they lived down there. And she said there was a party last night and somebody went in and shot the party up and Kaylee was shot. And I was like, what? And I just threw my phone. I started screaming. I started telling everybody to call.
See if she was okay. She obviously didn't ever respond. So it was in the morning.
So how did this information get out so quickly many hours before the 911 call had ever came in? And who was the one responsible for starting this? I'm sure one of the more likely scenarios is it would have came from one of the surviving roommates, Dylan or Bethany. This video is not about shaming the surviving victims and roommates, just bringing awareness that word had gotten out fast. So the obvious question would be, if one of them was texting their friends about what happened inside the residence, why didn't they call 911 earlier? But did this story originate from inside the home, or did this start by someone else? I guess you could say it's plausible that one of the neighbors had heard the terrible screams and speculated early that morning with close friends, and word got out. There was the neighboring house to the west of the King Road residence, which is the same house that has the surveillance camera bulb that captured not only the suspect's vehicle, but sadly even captured audio of the screams and the nightmarish sounds that came from the King Road residence. Did the occupants of that home wake up to the sounds and screams that came just after 4 a.m. that morning? Could the neighbors have put the pieces together and they were the ones that started texting and calling friends about a possible homicide taking place at the King Road residence? Or could have this been the work of the alleged killer, Bryan Kohberger, who left his apartment in Pullman, Washington at 9 a.m. and just so happened to show back up at the King Road residence? His phone pinged around the neighborhood from 9:12 a.m. to 9:21 a.m. Did he send out some anonymous messages to some students around campus before he left his apartment, hoping word would spread quickly and show up just after first responders would arrive and pretend to be an innocent bystander and be able to relive that moment again, watching the reactions of the neighbors and surviving victims? Of course, we'll learn more details in due time, but right now as it stands, Bryan Kohberger's trial is set for October later this year. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe as we cover all types of crime weekly. Please leave a like as it helps this channel, and thank you so much for watching.